We are back. It is another edition of Colts Corner with myself, Kevin Bowen, Eddie Garrison alongside Eddie. I don't know. I've lived in this market for really all 35 years of my life. You are how old, if you don't mind me asking?
I am 26, turning 27 in September.
And you've been in this market for how long?
My entire life.
I'm not sure if we have had a bigger 180 in the mood around the two professional sports teams currently in town than where we're at right now. We're recording this on Friday morning, June 6th. The Pacers have done it again. It is a real-life movie we have witnessed here in the postseason play out. And the Indianapolis Colts, we are talking about another injury to their franchise quarterback, and this injury to the most important body part on his very gifted yet injured body. Good morning to you. How are you?
I'm fantastic after last night's game, Kevin. I tell you what, I don't know what's more impressive, the fact that it's Tyrese Halliburton hitting all these game-winning shots, or the fact that they somehow find a way down whatever it is, and they're the first team in NBA history to do blank and win.
Yeah, I saw. Shout out to Tyler Smith, covers Pacers. It was a really nice job. He added up all the probabilities of the four comebacks, and it's 1 in 1.5 million. I mean, it's just it's absolutely insane. So there's your optimism, Pacer-wise. Fan morning show, if I can make a shameless plug to the old podcast for our radio show. If you'd like to hear Pacers, head there, but we will focus on the Colts because this is Colts Corner with myself and Eddie. Well, let's begin with Anthony Richardson. And Eddie, let's just go over all of it. I will get to some day two OTA observations because I did think there were some interesting things that we witnessed during the open practice. But let's start with the facts and move on. Last Thursday, Anthony Richardson, from what I've gathered, made a throw during practice and felt something. And the Colts have decided to shut him down with an aggravation of the AC joint in the right throwing shoulder for the rest of the spring. No surgery, no timetable. The belief is he returns at some point in training camp. Training camp will start on July 22nd is report day, and then there will be a ramp-up period within him returning to action. This injury occurred during their second OTA 11-on-11 practice of the spring, so that means Daniel Jones will now take all of the starting reps in the 7 other 11-on-11 practices they will have this spring. I guess that's kind of the basis of it, Eddie. Any questions you have on that factual information before we get into what this means for Richardson in the quarterback battle?
Steichen said they were hoping to have him for training camp at the start.
Well, no, not the start. He never said that. I think the closest thing he said was at some point in camp we believe he will return. So again, camp dates to note during camp. July 22nd is report day. Your first preseason game is August 7th. I don't think I'm overstepping here, and this is my opinion, but based off context, I would assume this news means Daniel Jones is at least your opening preseason day starter. That would be Baltimore on August 7th. Let's play this out. Colts' first practice is July 23rd if report date's the 22nd. Let's say Richardson starts to throw, a week into camp. Or if it takes him a week to ramp up, you're not splitting reps with Jones until at least a week into camp. I would assume, we've watched Daniel Jones twice. It hasn't looked catastrophic by any means. You would assume at the very least Jones is, again, that starter for the first preseason game, which includes joint practices with the Ravens. That would be probably best case scenario for Anthony Richardson. And then when you exit that Baltimore stretch, maybe then he's back to full go and he's back to competing and et cetera, et cetera. But if I were a betting man right now, I would bet on Daniel Jones to be the week 1 starter. And I think it was a lot closer than anybody wanted to admit before this news, honestly. I go back to the consistent word the Colts have used all offseason. I think they just feel like, hey, if we get quarterback play that keeps us afloat, We don't need to be surfing out there in the ocean. We just need to be swimming somewhat in the ocean, and we feel like the rest of our team is suited to get whatever done that is necessary to get done. As far as Richardson is concerned, it's just horrific news. And I don't mean it like, oh, boy, now he needs surgeries out for the year. This guy just can't afford to miss any time. And, Eddie, we're talking about a aggravation of an injury that was surgically repaired 20 months ago. 20 months ago. That's a long time. And it's not like he's throwing 7 days a week right now. It's not like he's taking a hit. He's worn a red jersey throughout all of this. I'm a big IndyCar fan, and I watch the IndyCar telecast, and James Hinchcliffe, one of their analysts, says quite often that cautions breed cautions. When there are caution flags, that leads to restarts, and oftentimes on those restarts, you get people that do things crazy, and it leads to more cautions. I think the same thing can apply for Anthony Richardson, his injury situation. Injuries breed injuries. And I don't know. Is this a new throwing motion that he's now feeling pain? Is this do we date it back to the back injury? Is he overcompensating in some way, shape, or form? The thought with having surgery, because again, to go back to the fall of 2023 when Harold Landry tackles him on this shoulder, remember, they didn't decide on surgery right away. They waited a couple weeks. About half the people with a grade 3 AC joint sprain don't do surgery. About half of them do. They elected for surgery, and the thought was you don't have these aggravations. You don't get these dead arms, or however you want to describe it. And the fact that this is happening at the end of May versus whatever, February or March, just adds to it. It's the kid has awful luck. And I've said this to you before, Eddie, and I feel kind of dumb when I say it, but I guess I'll sound dumb again. Like, is Richardson too much of a physical specimen? Is he too freakish, built-wise? Like, is the human body not supposed to be that tall, that muscular, that fast? I'm trying to make sense of it, and I probably should just shut up. But that's a question I do have with him. Again, then all these questions are still on the table, and they'll be on the table until now, early August. We'll get to some point. Let's say he returns August 1st. We'll get to August 1st, and all the questions are still there. The health, I would argue the health in two categories. The health with the shoulder, and now the health with the what about when he takes hits. So he's got two health questions. Shoulder, playing football. Red jersey coming off. So he's got those questions, and he has accuracy questions, and he's got turnover questions, and then however you want to define his Monday through Saturday being a pro. It just sounds like a freaking disaster, honestly. Does it not?
No, it does. It does indeed.
I think they should sign a vet at some point.
Vet quarterback?
Yeah, if this is going to linger at all into training camp. I don't know. I'm not a Riley Leonard or Jason Bean as your backup. And again, I'm playing this out as worst case scenario if Richardson continues to have issues into the regular season. Right now, it sounds like they will not be doing that. And, I get right now in Houston, C.J. Stroud is going through, it sounds like something, I don't know if similar is the right way to put it, but the difference is C.J. Stroud's been good in the NFL, and C.J. Stroud hasn't had the injury history that Anthony Richardson has had. So, anything else on the Richardson front, Eddie?
Do you think, I know last year I was very delicate with how I approached this. Do you think there's an aspect of still needing to prove himself between the ears as a quarterback in the NFL who can overcome adversity and work through stuff?
Yeah, I think it's impossible for him to prove that in May.
I know.
I like NFL life this time of year is an 8 to 2 lifestyle. I guess if you're doing an OTA practice, maybe it's a little bit later in the day, but like these guys are, I say mandated, it's voluntary. But, like, they're only in the building, like, 3 or 4 days a week. Mm-hmm. It's not a grind of a regular season. The NFL season is a grind. So, he just – this is the worst-case news. It's the right shoulder. It's an aggravation 20 months post-surgery. All of it. These reps are so precious to him. And again, he's got to drill in whatever the new fundamentals are. You got to make that be borderline innate. And he obviously hasn't done any of that. So,
your free agent quarterbacks right now, Carson Wentz, C.J. Beathard, Teddy Bridgewater, Jeff Driscoll, Tyler Snoop Huntley, Desmond Ridder, Jake Fromm.
That's a Pro Bowler, Snoop Huntley.
That's right.
Just to clarify there. Boy, Carson Wentz is still in the open market.
By the way, I almost said Scoop Huntley because of that's what you call him, right? Was it you or is it Andy?
I think I probably called him Scoop. I don't know. Scoop sounds better to me.
And Tad Boyle.
Tad Boyle. Yeah, Uncle Tad. I do have an Uncle Tad.
Yeah.
So the news sucks. Daniel Jones is your week 1 starter. That would be my opinion on it right now. We'll see how it plays out, but I think this is a crippling situation for him. And I just hate injuries, man. Like, and I say this for sports. Like, when I used to play video games, I just turned injuries off.
Who leaves injuries on? Psychopaths?
Sickos out there. Yeah, absolute sickos out there. So, should we move over to Daniel Jones and just overall day 2 thoughts?
Yeah, that's what I was going to transition to. You beat me to it. What did you see on the field yesterday? I know it's the second time that you and some of your colleagues in the media have been able to see this group on the field.
Yeah, I actually thought Daniel Jones had a really nice day yesterday. 6 of 7. I charted in the 11 on 11. He did have probably one near pick that kind of went through. Boy, the Colts are really banged up at corner yesterday. No Jalen Jones, no Juju Brents, no even like depth guys like David Long Jr. They were starting a cornerback by the name of Alex Coleman. I had no idea he was on the football team, to be honest with you.
Sounds like a guy you went to high school with.
Indeed, it does. Yeah, I could probably pull out the yearbook and find an Alex Coleman in there somewhere. His one incompletion was, I think, probably a drop by Pittman. It might have been a hair fastball-y, but still, I thought it was a drop from Pittman. Just a beautiful deep ball opportunity to Pierce, and Coleman actually had great coverage on the play. Pierce just mossed him. It was a welcome to the big league, what Alec Pierce can do moment. A couple plays later, A.D. Mitchell touchdown. A really nice catch and run from DJ Giddens from Daniel Jones. So again, I thought the in rhythm, very efficient. It's 7 passes, so, again, insert the caveat, Eddie, of it's June 5th and no pads are on, but I am observing what I see, and my job is to tell you what I see. That's what I saw from Jones. We saw the kickers get working.
Really?
Perfect, both of them. 33, 40, 45, and 54. Those were the yardages. So Schrader went first. Boom, boom. Boy, he does have a booming leg. I asked him after practice, I was like, what's your cap? And he thinks 70. And he says he's hit a 70-yarder in the indoor facility. He was perfect. Maddox Trujillo, the undrafted kid out of Temple, was perfect on the same distances. He also got to kick I think it was a 40-yarder in a team period. In I guess that both of them kicked 11 on 11. But the second team offense, their 2-minute drive stalled out. And he kicked a 40-yarder and made it. So, perfect day for both the kickers. Michael Pittman Jr. sounded like not too serious, but it did look a little ominous there for a minute or two.
Banging knees with somebody?
Yeah, fell down pretty hard. I couldn't tell if it was contact or not, but yeah, I guess that was the word after practice. So he limped in. So I assume he will sit out next week's it. Next week's a mini camp. I assume he'd sit that out, and then we'll reconvene coming up again July 22nd. And then Justin Wally. Shane Steichen's press conference was dominated by Anthony Richardson talk. Mm-hmm. At some point, he was asked about Lou Anarumo, and just out of the blue, he mentions Wally as a guy that had impressed. I can't recall many times. Shane Steichen says nothing to the media. Mm-hmm. I can't recall many times he's ever went out of his way to single out a player when not asked about that player specifically. And he mentioned Wally. And again, there was Wally yesterday, getting starting reps outside with Kenny playing the slot. And you asked Cam Bynum about him and said, striking that balance between confident and humble. He thinks is a really important quality for a young pro to have, and feels like Wally does that. So, yeah, I think that pretty much covers everything. Warren had a nice catch in 7 on 7. Danny Pinter was taking some starting reps, so we've seen both him and Bortolini. That looks to be a real battle. A lot of guys are out, though. I listed a lot of them in an article up on 1075thefan.com. No Pay, no Buckner. Obviously, no linebackers. Hell, you probably had...
No Josh Downs.
No Josh Downs. Taylor was back. Defensively, you probably had, 3 starters? Trying to think. Grover. I guess if you call Latu a starter. Grover, Latu, Kenny, and Bynum. Still didn't see Ward in the 11-on-11. Oh, Nick Cross. Cross had a great play on Mallory in a 7-on-7 period. So, yeah, I think that covers pretty much everything. Get an article up, 1075thefan.com. But that recap of day 2. And, again, starting next week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we will then get to watch everything from a mini camp standpoint. And assuming the training camp viewings are the same, we will now hit a stretch where we'll watch about 20-some practices in a row.
It's the wonderful time for you, isn't it?
It is. It is. There are a few moments where I'm like, man, this is not the Pacers in the NBA Finals. But nonetheless, it is the NFL team, and my job is to cover and report on it as is. And I do think there are some other storylines that, though, are promising. So looking forward to training camp, joint sessions in Baltimore. Sounds like 1 in Baltimore, 2 here with the Packers, and done with the Bengals. So we'll await an official training camp schedule, and we'll get that to you here on one of these pods.
4 Twitter questions to get to. Are you ready for them?
I am ready.
We will start with Terry. Do you think his injury, speaking about talking about Anthony Richardson's, this early in the OTAs puts a question mark on A, whether he experienced this pain in his offseason work or worse, or B, he wasn't training very hard?
Well, yeah. I don't know. I don't know. I feel like people with Richardson are always looking for, like, wait a minute, is he not working hard enough? Like,
Well, they've done it to themselves with how they've handled the whole situation, and now that's all people are going to worry about.
What do you
question? Mean? The all last season with, questioning his professionalism. If he's getting into the building early enough, he's putting in enough work off the field.
Yeah, got it. Yeah.
So now all these questions are going to come no matter what the instance is, just because of the lack of management by Anthony, by Shane Steichen, by Chris Ballard, by whomever last season.
Yeah, I guess I get that. I also think this is probably just a physical issue, and I don't necessarily think it was, again, a lack of work ethic contributing to this problem. Honestly, you would rather it, well, I guess you could spin it whatever way you want it. The mental aspect seems like it'd be easier to fix than the actual physical aspect. Like, to me, having surgery and 20 months later having a dead arm, or however you want to describe it, that sounds frightening. When it's the right shoulder of the starting core. We sometimes see these AC joint injuries in non-throwing shoulders. But when, Harold Landry had that tackle, now all of it is played out. And that's why I tried to stress to you earlier, Eddie, like, we have put all of it to the side. Accuracy, turnovers, throwing with anticipation, throwing with touch, Monday through Saturday professional standard. Put all of that to the side. We still have Chris Ballard's biggest Anthony Richardson question alive and well again.
Consistency.
Availability.
And that too.
Availability is Ballard's biggest question. That was the first thing he said at the end of the offseason. And now here we are, yet to have taken off the red jersey, and it's shown up again. The health issue, again, it's 2 separate groups. It's the shoulder, and it's also the what happens when he starts to take hits. So I'm usually not, I don't know. I feel like I'm usually one that's rather measured when it comes to, like, health and injuries, and not too, this to me is a freak out. I mean, this to me is just, it's awful because all the questions still exist. These are the times to get the precious reps. I mean, you've got your second, we were out there watching the first 11-on-11 session last Wednesday, and then the next day this happens. It's terrible. And he needs it more than anybody.
Is there a possibility that it could be just overusage? Depending on, I don't know if he still did his typical offseason stuff with Will Hewlett, or if he just worked with Chris Hess, or in this case, maybe both. And just, him having his first healthy offseason, he's like, I want to get better. I want to prove myself. I want to be out there on the field. I want to improve this, that, and the other. And next thing you know, you're overdoing it.
Yeah, maybe that is the case, Eddie, which is fine, and I guess it's a good explanation, and maybe it does offer a why. but it still doesn't undermine the problem.
No.
I mean, the problem is he has to miss valuable 11-on-11 reps when he needs them more than anybody. And like, if this happened let's say this happened in mid-April, when you're just doing what? Strength and conditioning, and you're throwing a little bit on the side. Maybe he takes a month off then, and now he can do this stuff here in late May when they're doing 11-on-11. But he can't do any of that. And again, the drilling of the fundamentals and all of that. So I was already starting to get pretty skeptical about Richardson being the week 1 starter. And to me, right now, if I were a betting man, I'd take Pacers in 6, and I'd take Daniel Jones to be the starting quarterback.
A follow-up on this from Jimmy. Did you notice any difference in AR's throwing motion? He had the offseason stuff with Chris Hess, Josh Allen's throwing coach, so I would assume you would see a difference, correct?
Yeah, nothing eye-poppingly different. Like, it's not like he went from shooting the ball like Tyrese Halliburton to shooting the ball like Miles Turner. I mean, like, nothing that – I mean, again, I watched him throw the football one day. So
yeah.
I probably should reiterate that. It was something I wanted to get my eyes more used to, and honestly, I wanted to at some point do a little side-by-side action. It sounds like a lot of it was more footwork, and that was the main difference.
Yeah.
And again, I think I said to you guys last week, I thought it was a pretty mixed bag from him on the first day last week. There were some really nice, like, kind of deep crossers he threw, and, velocity looked fine. And then the very next day, boom, this happens.
2 questions left. Daner and Rick going to Daner. Unless this team makes the playoffs, does the whole team get blown up with the sad news of the passing of Jim Irsay? I can't help but think Carly is using this year as an evaluation for everyone involved.
Yeah. The whole Carly angle, I think, it's an interesting aspect as we start to transition there.
Mm-hmm.
There was her car right there in her usual parking spot yesterday when we got to the team facility. We mean business. How does she kind of define that? I mean, she is, I think I mentioned on last week's podcast, she has definitely made some substantial changes to the other side of the building. She strikes me as pretty results-oriented. Like, wait a minute, we're not, succeeding in these areas. Can you tell me why? And we need to make changes in those areas there. So, I don't know. I feel like, how do you think you would be, like, in a position of authority like that? You think you'd, and I don't know, maybe I'm asking you an ego question, but would you feel the need to, like, establish yourself early on?
I think it would if I was not around the building for as much as she's been around the building.
Yeah.
If I was somebody new and I was coming in, maybe.
Now, business versus football side, does that matter at all? I mean, business side, yes, she's been the one making the calls for the last decade. But football side, she's around, but it's not like she's telling Chris Ballard whether he has a job or not.
I'm sure one of the daughters, either Carly, Kaylin, and then, why am I spacing?
Casey,
thank you. One of them had to be in lockstep right there with Jim the entire time, especially in his later years, right? At least you would think, of experiencing all this, being a part of the conversations. And I mean, you had DeForest Buckner sharing that she popped into a defensive line meeting at one point. Like, so, I mean, I feel like there's not going to be that much of a difference, possibly, but you never know, right?
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, if Jim Irsay was in better health, would Chris Ballard have gotten to this point? There are some people that believe that Irsay just wasn't in a health state to execute a GM search. And I'm talking honestly more last year versus this offseason. I'm talking more of after the, whatever that would have been, 2020, I don't know, 2022, 2023 season. They all run together at this point. But when you're in your worst playoff drought in the last 30 years, I don't know. If I were in a position of authority, I think I would walk in under that premise and be like, damn, we need changes. And I get that, like, you don't necessarily make changes in June, but I don't know. I feel like I'd be holding that feet to the fire, but granted, I thought, possibly we could have seen that earlier in the year, and who knows how much, again, unfortunately, your father's health contributed to that. Any more we got?
That is it.
All right, coming up next week will probably be, again, a little bit later in the week because we watch Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I believe, for our final spring viewing. So any lingering Twitter questions we'll get to. If you got any, feel free to DM myself or Eddie, and we'll have written content up on the website, 1075thefan.com. He is Eddie Garrison. I'm Kevin Bowen. Everybody have a great, great week. We'll talk to you next week.